Okay, so let's start to look now at the feet area. So we'll zoom in here and have a look at what we've got at the moment. It's just this cylinder in effect. So we're going to have to define where our toes are going to be going on this model. I'll go over to select and I'll choose polygons here just to highlight them. And I'm essentially going to make the toes out of these polygons here, here, and here. So those highlighted polygons will be the toes, and the ones in between here I can delete. So I'll deselect those and select these three here and these three here, and I'll delete those polygons now. So next I'm going to define these two outer toes. So at the moment they're connected to this back geometry here, so I need to split that. So I'll choose my edges tool here, and I'm going to just select these two here, and I'll go around to this side. So I've got my inner toe here, and I'm going to select those two. Spacebar, then I'll go down to where it says split edge. Now I'll swap over to the move tool, select points, and now when I move these you'll see that they are no longer connected. So I could just move these and split these. So that defines that toe completely. This one's already okay because we split those middle polygons, and we've got to do the same on this side now. So I'll just move these over, and that defines our three front toes there. So we've got this bunch of polys at the back here, and I'm not going to delete these, I'll be using these. But what I can do is just move them up a little bit higher, because at the moment they're at the same level as our toes and we don't want them to be quite there. So I will use my slide edges tool here, hold down Control, and I'll slide these up. So now we can see those toes will be spread out, keeping our dinosaur firmly on the ground. So now let's shape these toes a little more. I'll go over to my edges tool and I'll choose move, and let's just move these around and try to make them a little more even in their size. And we can choose to spread these even further, but we can always change this afterwards. So at the moment, blocking in, making sure the sizes are relatively similar, and the shapes of course. Switch to points. We can move to slide points and edges here. Just move these around, gives you a little bit more control. And we'll just move these up. And I'll slide these ones over as well. So I'll go over to slide and I'll just bring these a little bit closer together. So here I'm just going to slide these back polygons here a little bit higher, and I want this row here to be lining up with these here because I'm going to try to connect, but obviously we've got too many polygons on this side and not enough geometry here, so we do need some more geometry on the tops of the toes here. So I will use my split rings tool here and I'll put two splits to match those polygons at the back. So I'll put two there, and two there. Now I'll go over to the move tool with points selected and I will weld these together. So here you can see that I've got an extra row of polygons here, and I really need to remove these because this will help to give the impression that the toes are a little bit longer and the back of the foot is a little bit higher as the dinosaur is moving, as the dinosaur is actually standing on its tiptoes in effect. So I'll use the delete face and just delete those extra faces in there. And now I can go ahead and weld these points together. So using the points and the move tool, just snap those points to the other vertices like so. So here you can see that we've got our toes defined, but now we need to look at the webbing between the toes and joining those toes up. So here I'm using the select tool with edges selected, and I will select both of those inner edges as we can see, and then I'll choose the transform tool, commit the extrusion and extrude those edges down, and just finding a decent position for those edges, bringing them forwards a little bit as well. So once they're positioned, just escape the tool and drop the selection. So I've gone ahead here and I've just changed the shape of those two small polygons that we've been using for the webbing of our toes, and I'll continue now to create some more geometry in here, extending this edge here outwards as well as this one too. So just selected too many there. So again, I'll hit spacebar, transform and commit extrusion, and I'll just drag these ones down like so. Escape, Control D to drop the tool, and let's just move now some of these edges and just position them a little bit better. So this one in particular, let's get underneath and just move this one forwards a little bit. Let's do the same with this one, just move it forwards. And whilst I'm here, I know that I want to extend this down. So if we imagine that we have this edge here and it's going to connect to this edge here, this one will connect here. I want an extra extrusion here so I can connect these in the same way, and the same on the other side as well. So let's do that whilst we have our edge selected on here. Choose select edge, and this is the one that we want, and we'll do both at the same time again. Spacebar and commit another extrusion here, and we'll just move this out, just roughly position it, and then we can just change it around again afterwards. This one should be okay for now. Let's just go back to our move edges and let's move this edge down. Let's get it lining up with this one and this one. So this edge needs to line up with that one. Move those over, and we'll do the same on this. So with that done, now I can go ahead and I can use my quads tool here, and I'll select parallel, and I'll now just attach this edge to this one, and the same on the other side. And there we have the beginnings of the webbing between the toes of our dinosaur. So next I'm going to select the polygons here. So let's choose polygons, and I'm going to select all the ends of the toes here one by one, and I will just extrude these out because we're going to actually need an extra part of the toe to extend this toes even further. So let's do that. I will select the transform tool again. This time I'm going to hit this to local axis, which will put the gizmo in the correct place. Hit commit extrude, and then just pull this extra part out here to give the toe an extra knuckle, as it were. Let's drop that selection. Let's move on to the next one. Select these two, and the same again. And here we go for the last one. Now, it's not the right shape at the moment, but that's okay. We're just getting the length of the toes correct, and we can look underneath, and if we feel that this one probably needs to come out a little bit further, just to get that arc on the foot there. So now we have this edge here, and we have this edge here, and I want to fill in these polygons here to complete the edge of the toe, the sides of the toe. So I could do that in a number of ways. What I'm going to do there on this one is, with these two selected, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to bridge, and I'm going to increase the number of cuts in that bridge between those two edges to 1, which will give me this cut here. You can see it's just doing a direct bridge between those two edges. So it needs me then to go in and give it the proper location. So I'll just say OK to that. And now I can go in with my move tool, for example, here, and edges selected, and just manipulate this, put it into roughly the right position where it should be. And then I can just change to points and then weld those two together. And that gives me the edge of this toe here. Obviously I need to move these pieces around, which we can do after, and we can do a little bit more shaping of this after we get all these completed. So I'll continue now and create for the other edges of the other toes. So all I need to do now is just position these new cuts here to align. And we'll just move this over just so it roughly aligns with where we need it to actually go. And then switch over to points and weld those 2 points together. If you increase the size of the brush here, and then it will snap, it will understand within this radius where it needs to snap to. So that makes it a little bit easier if you're finding it difficult to snap those points together. And the last one on this side. Now it's a good time to start to just shape these toes a little bit more. They're a little bit flat, and you can see the width variation from the end of the toe here going in. It doesn't quite make sense. So I'm going to spend a little time now just to tweak these and make them look a little bit more uniform, and as if there's more bone structure in them as well. So we've done a little bit of work here just to shape the toes a little bit more. It still needs some extra work, but at least we're getting a good idea now of the foot structure, and we can move on now to fill this area of the foot at the bottom here. Okay, so let's take a look at the underside of the foot here, and just to fill in this geometry, we'll start by taking an easy route and see if we can use one of these other tools in here, such as R-fill, to see if we can fill in these points very quickly. So I'll choose R-fill here and just click in this, just roll over rather this area, and you can see it's kind of messed up a little bit. It's trying its best to predict how those polygons will be, but I don't think that's very clean, so I'll do a more manual method for this. So I'll use my quads tool here. I'll go over to parallel and I'll click on this edge, and I click there to do that. I could use the bridge tool on this as well if I wanted to, and just use one of those cuts like we did on the sides. Connect these two little pieces here with the webbing section. So connect that one, and we'll connect that one to there, and then we'll connect those two together there. And now all we have to do is split these ones. So let's choose split rings. I'll hold shift and click, and I'll hold shift on that and click there, then go to move with points selected, and we'll weld those to close those little gaps there and there, and the back of the foot here. So with that done, I'll just go ahead now and do a little bit more shaping and just round out these areas here. And this is the beauty of low poly workflow, is that you can make rather big moves and large edits without really worrying about any details, because there are no details at this stage. There are just large poly faces that can be moved around to give you a good sense of volume and where the volume needs to be in any particular model. And it's just a couple of point moves. Okay, so there we have the foot blocked out with our toes created, and those toes are nicely spread out to distribute the weight. They could be a little bit too big, but once we actually mirror this object over and look at the other side, we can make some final proportional changes at that point. But everything that I've got in here is looking okay at the moment. In the next video, we'll finish the feet and move on to the hands. See you next time.